Okay.
Alright class, so today we are going to be talking about more in depth about the ecosystems that we started talking about yesterday. And so I'm going to start class by showing you this quick video. And at the beginning of this video, I'm cutting that portion out because there is a gazelle and it is eating grass. So it's not the most fun part of the video to watch. So I'm going to be showing you the fun part of the video.
He explodes into action.
Unbelievable, the cubs are actually going to deal with an adult. The first time ever in their lives. The three cubs have just brought down an adult female gazelle.
So, now that we watched that video, I am going to have you guys take out your science notebooks and we are going to take a quick pretest. And what I want you guys to do is I want you to define these four terms: consumer, producer, food chain, and food web. Please define these in your own words, and I'll give you guys 3 minutes to define all these terms. So go. Alright, it looks like everybody's pencils are down, so that's telling me that you guys are all done with your pretest. So, does anybody know what a consumer is? Yeah, it's pretty close. It's pretty close. What about a producer? Alright, alright. What about a food chain? Alright, yeah, okay. And a food web? Alright, sweet. Thank you guys for doing that for me. And we're going to move into talking about what these are and coming up with definitions that are going to be exactly what we are, how they're defined in the rest of the world. And I do like you guys' definitions that you came up with during that, but we got a little bit different ones that we use around the world. So, what is a consumer? It is anything that eats or consumes any other organism. It's kind of a big, broad definition for it, but it consumes or it eats other organisms. So that's what our consumers are. So then, what are our producers? As we were saying during our pretest, a producer is something along the line, or something that makes something that produces something, right? It's kind of right in that definition. So, a producer it is an organism that makes its food. And they come together in these ecosystems, and they all come together to make up our food chains. And our food chains are the interactions between producers and consumers. And lastly, the newest term you guys probably haven't heard before today was the food web. And a definition for a food web is a collection of food chains. So in one ecosystem, you're not just going to have one food chain through it. You're going to have a very complex, and a lot of the time they do look very messy, set of food chains that come together, and they will be your food web. So our definition for a food web is a collection of food chains. So we're going to start talking more about how these producers and consumers come together into our food chains. And then we're going to make some food chains, and then we're going to end up making some food webs. And we'll have an activity in a little bit after we're done getting a couple examples up here where you guys will be getting different organisms and making some food chains out of them, and then finding a way to combine all of them into a food web. And some of the connections might not, or some of the organisms might not connect, but there will still be quite a few that do, and it will, I promise, it will look messy. It'll be a very messy food web, because food webs are always messy. So, to start off, we are going to make a food chain for a land ecosystem. So this will be our land food chain. So those producers, those are organisms that make something, right? So we're going to start in our land food chain. We're going to start with grass. Because grass makes its own energy, as we talked when we were talking about cells. They make their own energy through photosynthesis, right? So that's going to be the start of our food chain. Now, does anybody have an example of something that could potentially consume grass? All right. So we're going to go with a gazelle. Yep, just like in that video we just watched. So, yes, these gazelles, this is a pretty big jump in size. But, so this won't be a very long food chain for this first one we're making. But that's okay. So we've got our gazelles, and they're eating our grass. So what's then what could potentially consume the gazelle? What could be the next level of consumer? Yep, our cheetahs. Yes, any of them, like our cheetahs, or lions, any of those big cats that are found in a similar environment as those gazelles. So that's a pretty short food chain. And that's how some food chains are. Some of them just don't have many steps in them. So now, we're going to start with grass again, because I want to get us a little bit longer of a food chain. So I'm going to start with grass again, and then we're going to come up with a different food chain. So, what's something small that might eat grass? A mouse. I like it. That's a nice small organism that does eat grass. So that's our primary consumer. What comes next? What might eat a mouse? A snake. Yes, perfect. A nice rattlesnake. I'm just going to write down snake. But yes, it could be a rattlesnake. What could eat a snake? Birds? Yeah, some birds do eat snakes. Hawks, for instance, do. All right. I like that one. I know it's only one more step, but it makes it a little bit easier. Having a couple more makes creating our food web just a little bit easier. So now we're going to make a water ecosystem's food chain. So where can we start in a water ecosystem? Algae, yeah. algae is one of the, that's one of those nice photosynthetic organisms that just float around in the water, and they are the base of a lot of aquatic ecosystems or aquatic food chains. What comes next? Does anybody know anything that eats this algae? Yes, bugs. Some water bugs do. And what eats those water bugs? Yep, a frog. And I want to get one more step in here before we're done. Does anybody know anything that eats frogs? Northern pike, I like it. Nice specific, but I've any of those big fish. I'll put big in there just to classify, because I might add one more step in here later. You never know. But yeah, big fish. Frogs are typically pretty big. You need something decent sized to eat that, right? So I like these two food chains we've got going on here. But what can happen is, what can happen is these food chains can come together. If, say, this grassland is right next to this lake, they're going to probably come together, and instead of being separate food chains, we're going to end up with a food web. So, how can we make this into a food web? What eats what? Yes! Say a mouse goes swimming, some big fish might eat it too. Frog could be on land, yeah. Could be eaten by that snake. Some birds, yep. Some birds do eat fish, and they do eat frogs. Some birds eat mice. Some fish. And even we could put in here, yeah, I like that idea of a small fish. And yet, bigger fish still might eat. And these small fish might eat algae, yep. So as you can see, a food web gets really messy really quickly. This is only, we've got 9 organisms up there, and way more than 9 arrows going on. There's a lot that will quickly happen when you make a food web out of the food chains. So, now I'm going to hand out your, I'm going to have you guys get in groups, and I'm going to pass out a worksheet for you, and you are going to cut out the different organisms and create a set of food chains and then a food web on your poster board that is also provided. So I'll give you the rest of class to do that, and we'll convene just for a couple minutes at the end. All right, yeah, I like your food web. It's looking good. Keep up the good work. All right, so I know not everybody finished up their food chains and food webs today. I guess we'll be giving you some time to do that tomorrow as well. That's okay. We'll finish that on up tomorrow. But I just want to bring everybody together so we can do a quick review. A quick review over some of these terms. So what are our producers? Yeah, perfect. They are our things that make their own food. What are our consumers? Yep, anything that consumes something else, anything that eats to make it to get its food. So they eat our producers, and they also eat other consumers, right? Perfect. What about a food chain? Yep, food chain is our steps, how a producer gets eaten by a consumer eats that consumer, stuff like that. The interactions between producers and consumers in an ecosystem. And what about a food web? Perfect. It is a combination of our food chains. So, what I'll have you guys do for a quick exit ticket. Before you leave class, you're going to have to write out on a sheet of paper and turn in to me what your own definition, so not the ones I gave you, slightly different than those at least, and of what a food chain and a food web are, and define a producer and consumer, and please provide examples of each of these. Food web, you don't really have to give too big of an example for. It can be as small an example as you want. All right, see you guys tomorrow.